Hello, welcome to the second episode of season 2. Today I'm joined by someone very special, my dear friend Ambika. We first met during our time at IIM Bangalore when life is full of new chapters for both of us. I was newly married, she had just returned from the UK, and we were both navigating those exciting, uncertain 20s. It was 20s for you as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
23.
So, exciting and uncertain 20s, and like many friendships from that era, we
Yeah.
lost touch for a while until Instagram worked its magic and reconnected us. What I've always admired about Ambika is her strength, her authenticity, and her ability to find meaning even in life's most challenging moments. Today she is here to share her insights on grief, loss, and the resilience of the human spirit, a conversation that I know will resonate deeply with many of us. Welcome, Ambika.
Hi, Tamanna. I'm so happy we're doing this. And we've spent such a good time, like such a good time in Bangalore. And it's unbelievable how time flies. And
I know.
like,
From
people
20s to
were born
30s.
in front of me, and like, they're like so grown up now. And it's unbelievable.
I was grown up even then.
Yeah, I'm still like, you have kids now, bro. And like, kids are grown up kids. Like,
I know.
we were only kids. One fine day, we were sitting on that the tanki. You remember the
I
steps?
know. Three idiots wala tanki.
Three days wala tanki. And then we're there, and then sitting there on the steps and thinking, "Yaar, yeah, three idiots, dude, cool." We work here, and the yoga classes I'll never
No.
forget.
Movies, and chalo, we'll get to what we want to talk. Otherwise, we'll keep talking about our Bangalore lives. Okay, so let's can you take me back to that moment, when you first encountered grief, or when grief first entered your life, and what those initial days felt like, or the compounding effect of all the times that you felt grief.
I was maybe 13 and a half, 14, and we were in a car accident, and my grandmother became immobile, actually. She recovered to some extent and she started walking on the walker, but then I think something just went wrong and uh, with her digestive system or something, but she never recovered from that accident and until she was no longer there. So I lost her on 14th of July 2014, I remember. And I've just come back from school. And that morning, I said bye to her. By virtue, I've always lived with my grandmom, right? So I've always slept with her, and she's the one who named me. So we had a very, I would fight with her also, but she was my everything.
Right.
Uh, so she's in a lot of pain that morning. And I was the first person to reach my class, and my then best friend Sakshi, she's there with me, and so she knows that things are not good at home, and she's asking me how she is. I used to call her Dada. So I'm telling her that I can't see her like this, and I just pray and wish to God that He would stop her suffering, and I would rather that she's at peace than she's like this. And I go home, and for some stupid reason, I'm wearing all white clothes. So I have these white sleeveless linen shirt top I'm wearing with white shorts. Why? And I've eaten my lunch and I've gone to sleep at 3:45 something. I hear my mom and my dadi's full time maid crying. And my mom is like, go call a doctor, go call a doctor. So I had a classmate, Subhanshu, his mom was a doctor. तो दोपहर में आधी चप्पल पैर में है आधी नहीं है भाग के and I'm ringing the doorbell and I'm telling her that auntie something's really wrong with her. She just won't wake up, and I'm like fully paranoid. And he's like my classmate also. He's shocked because he's like there's this one person fully frazzled and so then she came and then obviously she was no more. But yeah, that's how vividly I remember it, even as a child. But what I don't remember is feeling anything afterwards. So that was the first time I knew something bad happened in my life. But I have no memory of crying or grieving. I just don't. The only thing that I can remember is that my brother, I took him into another room till my parents were organizing things and people were coming and going, and I made sure that he was eating something like biscuit or something.
That's all.
That's also when I really press hard for a memory. Um, that and then that was when I was 14, and then it hit me 10 years later again.
I'm sorry. But at this point, did you realize that she had passed away and she's not coming back anymore?
I think, yeah, the sense of finality I knew because I was very mature for my age, maybe. And the fact that I knew that she was suffering, she was never well enough for me to tell her that, I'm so grateful for the name that you gave me, for the stories you told me every night. It's because of you that I know the prayers that I know. Thank you for telling me Ramayan every Radidi. अब जब मैं अपनी लाइफ में आई सी माई सेल्फ डूइंग स्टफ मुझे लगता है कि मे बी शी इज लिविंग थ्रू अस आई डोंट नो
I know.
या बट सी that is what I'm saying. I don't remember sitting quietly and remembering her or crying because I was such a child and I was so worried. There was so much happening, right? So my suddenly my father is bald. There's a prayer meet. There are people coming and going, and your parents look different when they are grieving, right? They do, but you can't really tell what has hit them until much later. So I don't think I was ever able to process that also as much as I wanted. But it somewhere really made me grow up. It did. Something in me shifted, but I never like I couldn't just. It took me a very long time to actually that sense of loss doesn't settle in. That I will tell you. It doesn't settle in.
True.
You have this feeling that अरे कुछ नहीं हुआ है मतलब she'll just walk in from somewhere या कहीं से मुझे आवाज दे देंगे ऐसा लगता रहता है बहुत टाइम तक. Yeah.
That's really hard.
Oh, I have never asked my younger brother. He lived it too, and he loved her just as much, and he was her absolute favorite बच्चा. So मैंने कभी उससे पूछा ही नहीं मतलब आई एम टेलिंग यू ग्रीफ इज सच अ हार्ड थिंग पीपल यू लव द मोस्ट you don't even ask them. I have not asked my brother uh, about my dadi. It was the same when my nani passed. But when my nani passed, I knew my mother was preparing so hard for it because she's a very deeply spiritual person and she would really pray to God
Right.
a lot before when my nani was bedridden. And there were a lot of, by God's grace, false alarms where we thought, but she survived and she made it. Until she didn't. And again, it was a similar feeling. I never asked my brother. I keep saying my brother because somewhere I felt that my father and mother were there for each other during their maternal losses. They both, so this is important to understand because both of them lost their fathers at a very young age. My mother, particularly, she has her relationship with grief is probably much more elaborate because she lost her father when she was 12,
Right.
and my dad lost uh, Dadu when just before actually they. my mom is the girl that my grandfather picked.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so he's done that and he said, okay, I think this is the girl he should marry. And my dadi has gone in to make chai, and then she comes back and he's just on his armchair and so cardiac arrest, he's gone. So, so, so I feel that somewhere both my father and my mother were very deeply attached to their mothers because they lost their father. So, and I feel that they have really held on to each other during that phase. But I really feel that, and this is such a out loud thought because I have never really even uh, thought thought about it loudly to myself. That I forgot to ask my younger brother, "Okay, are you okay?" This is what grief does to you. It puts you in such an envelope. You just assume everyone is fine except
I know.
yeah, yeah. So maybe I'll pick up the phone and I'll ask him that what did you feel at that point in time because I really want to know now. Like now that I've thought about it, I really want to know.
You should.
Yeah, I should.
Okay, moving on. You were
Yeah.
saying it hit you again after 10 years when I interrupted you.
Yeah, so around 12 years later. Yeah, I was 26. 2016.
Right.
Hmm, no,
15.
2004 and then 2016. 14 July 2004 and then
Yes.
2016. So 12 years later. So we've all loved different people in our lives. And I was very fortunate to be in love with someone at that point in time in my life. Although that relationship had already lived its course and we were not together anymore, but he passed away, and I don't think anything in this world would have readied me for it. Uh, I got a call at 11:35 in the night from his sister, and she said that he's not there anymore. Told her, what rubbish are you talking? Stop fooling around with me. Don't talk rubbish. Give him the phone. It's like, no, he's not there. And it happened today morning. But I said, it happened today morning and you're telling me now. She's like, it's just too much happening. Tomorrow is the cremation. Come. And I have no idea what to do. My hands are trembling and I have woken up Anirudh because now me and Anirudh, we sleep in one room. Like I said, I've never slept alone in my life. So my brother used to sleep, and I'm shivering and howling, and I go to my mom's room because my parents knew this person very well. He used to come home, and they had their own bond with him. Okay, so this is like a very deep personal loss for us as a family, and and I wake her up and I tell her that this is what has happened, and all hell has broken loose because I just can't stop myself from crying. I don't know what the hell is happening to me, and your body is no longer in sync with your mind. You
True.
just don't know. You just feel like there is a deep black abyss and you're drowning. You're drowning and you're drowning and you're drowning. And then somehow she pacified me, put me to sleep, whatever. And the next morning, I just woke up, wore whatever came to my head, and my mom is telling me, "What are you doing? What are you wearing? Just what are you doing? Like, because you have no sense of what you're doing."
Right.
And so then my driver took me. He knew their house because I used to go there often. So I went there and I met his mom, his dad, sister, I just didn't have the guts to see his body. The body was at the hospital, and I think somewhere in my head, because I had always known him to be such a happy person, he was such a person, so full of life. I just decided I don't want to see him like that ever. So I did. And I think that was probably the biggest mistake I made while grieving. Because now I can't go back to that. And so in my grief, there is always a question. And somehow there is no closure to this. Probably because I didn't see him that way. But that is what it feels like now. Like, it's been 9 years, 10 years, but it feels similar. Like you feel like, you know,
काश
yeah,
कर देख लिया
yeah, yeah, gosh, not for my sake, but there are other people who loved him, his family members surely deserved better in that sense. But you grieve for years and years and years together, and you feel guilty for it too, because you have a full-fledged life of your own. You have very fulfilling relationships. You have you're achieving things that you only dreamt of, and sometimes you feel very very guilty that the person is not there to see it. It's okay if they were not a part of my life, but they would have still been a friend. They would have still been a well wisher.
True.
Still would have been someone who has seen the aspiration stage of my life. And so the guilt is very strong, and it doesn't. It just doesn't leave you alone as a person.
Oh, it never does. So tell me one thing, do you think the way we are conditioned, I mean, the Indian culture and the Indian society, does it also shape, the way we process grief and loss? Did you, see yourself, doing things that you probably wouldn't have done?
See, sadly, in the Indian society and space, there is no space for you to grieve. Indian families, we call it support system. So when this happened, I moved around. I was like a living ghost for some. But until one day, when my mother was like, I already lost a son. I'm not going to live with a dead daughter in my house. That is the day a switch goes off in your head, and you realize that this is my personal loss. I cannot impose it on the people who are still living around me for me.
Right.
Right. And I was very blessed with a very, very supportive ecosystem. I mean, at that point in time, my friend always checking up on me, telling me that it's okay, you don't have to be strong all the time. And I would, in fact, I, I am so appreciative of the fact that my friends were the space which told me that please grieve, please cry, please do. Because if you don't, you will suffer.
Right.
You don't have to always be strong. Ambi, you don't have to be that way. These
Yes.
are the people who were like, mope as much as you want to, cry as much as you want to. They were physically there for me. They would come meet me. They would take me out. Because to the family, I could just not explain anything. But my brother, I couldn't sleep. So that is the first time my grief converted to insomnia. And now when I look back at it, there's a pattern. Every time I feel grief, I can't sleep. That's the first time that pattern ever occurred. I wouldn't sleep for days at ends. And my brother would just hold my hand.
Why could you not sleep?
I just couldn't. I had this feeling that initially I was scared that I'll see him.
Right,
And for the longest time, I remembered how he spoke, how he felt, even his smell. Like I could now I feel guilty sometimes because sometimes I have to really think hard, and that now I have to sometimes really remember him, right? Um, Not in terms of uh, anything else, but also you want to remember people
right,
who
right.
contributed happily to your life, and somewhere you want to do things that you said that you will, so that wherever they are, they can see that you lived up to that promise or whatever. And so I couldn't sleep. I just wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't sleep. I would just go through the night, turn, turn again. And at that point in time, I was working with my dad, so it was okay. There was a lot of comfort at that level. I think my parents tried their best without saying anything. But the Indian society, there is no defined space for loss. You have 13 days in which shit will happen, and that process has to get done. And there are so many rituals surrounding it that grief is equal to ritual.
Right.
Okay. And that in itself is so annoying
It is.
because you're supposed to socialize at these functions. And people are laughing and talking and eating and whatever.
Yes.
And you will hate it because you're not in that space. And the worst part is when people come and ask you, "Kya ho gaya? Kaise ho gaya? So how did this happen? Why do you have to find out now? Why can't it wait? It can just wait. Somebody just lost their mother, father. Somebody just lost their child.
And they have to repeat this to every single person because
Yeah,
there's
and
no end to curiosity.
no, and they are so they are reliving it every single time. They are saying, how can you not how can you not understand that they'll have to relive that moment every time they tell you something about it. So Indians are not we are very poor with with understanding. The one thing we need to be able to give people is space. But the only thing that comes at a time of grief is unwanted advice. I've seen that very recently. Very recently, also, I lost my Fufaji around 1.5 years ago.
Oh.
My buddy Fufaji, he was like, he was my only sensibility of a grandfather. I was very, very attached to him. You know, unbelievable. I can't. I The life is so pathetic. I couldn't go see him one last time. Uh, that's a loss I refuse to believe. That I have chosen to believe that has not happened to me because I cannot imagine a world in which he doesn't exist. So yeah, yeah, that. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you were talking about compounding each loss that you don't process,
Right.
or you take years and years of processing, and until the most recent one, you grieve all of them together.
Yes.
And you grieve every single mistake you made with that relationship. every single day. You'll you miss that love every day. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Ah, I mean, for me, he was my mentor. He understood me, and he understood my husband so well. When the first time he met him, he said, "Brilliant kid. Uh, he deserves a lot of love in life. You should ensure that you love him a lot because uh, I think that is going to be his driving force." So, really, like when you grow up being loved by someone like that, how do you process? You can't. I mean, I don't know. I've cried in bits and spurts. I've seen my Bua without him also, and she's very strong, and she still calls me. I still call her and everything, but I don't have the. I mean, I just feel like such a coward because I can't accept.
No, it's this is how, this is another way of processing grief. You've probably, reached that point where so much grief, I mean, all of it has compounded. You've reached a point where you're like, I refuse to accept that this has happened.
Yeah,
So, coming back to, we were talking about how people behave so weird when, those rituals are happening and they come, I mean, all they do want to think about is the food and asking questions about how it happened, क्या हुआ क्या नहीं हुआ क्यों हुआ कब हुआ. But in all these scenarios, as a young Indian woman, how did you deal with, well-meaning, offered, unsolicited advice about get over it, focus on your future, think about in the first place, did that happen?
see, in the case of my grandmothers, both of them,
You were very young then.
I was at my nanny's time. I was so young. I was actually 25, 26. Must have been because Bubbles was in my life at that point in time. In fact, I was with him when I received that call. So the good thing is my nanny knew about him. So he was nanny approved. But I feel that while it's great to have a support system when you have lost someone dear, and good that the Indian society is built that way that people will come and for जो आपका लिम्बो वाला फेज होता है उसमें इतने लोग होते हैं कि आपको पता ही नहीं चलता ठीक है
True.
जो सच बात है ये इट्स आफ्टर द
True.
फर्स्ट 15 days when you can't do anything about it when everything is over जब आप गंगा में अस्थियां बहाकर आ जाओगे ना तब आपको लगेगा कि ओके नाउ व्हाट द
True.
हेल एंड तब आप कुछ कर नहीं सकते क्योंकि अब आपके पास फिजिकल बॉडी भी नहीं है क्योंकि जब आपके सामने फिजिकल बॉडी थी तो मेरे ओके अलाइव नहीं है बट है तो मेरे ही
है तो सही.
तो
Yes.
मैं मेरे मन में अगर कुछ बात है मैं रोना चाहती हूँ कहना चाहती हूँ पूछना चाहती हूँ देख के पूछ तो सकती हूँ अब आप 25 लोग बैठे हैं तो मैं क्या ही बोलूंगी
True.
वुड यू I know it was COVID time or whatever, but if you could go back into time, and the last time you saw, you would want to say something to them. You would want to. Even when I saw my Fufaji through phone, I had so much I wanted to tell him. All I could barely say in my heart was, "Look, I love you so much, and I'm so blessed that you were a part of my life, and find a way to come back to me." That's all I could think in my heart. And I'm somebody he considered his grandchild. right?
Mm.
His own children, my sisters, did they have a chance? No, they were busy dealing with the people who were going to come and visit them.
True.
So you also you also grieve for the people who are grieving, and because you love them so much, like my sisters, I love them so much. The fact that they have to live in this world with his teachings and his guidance, of course, and blessings, and he's they're two very strong, tough women. But having had said that, is their grief any lesser? No.
No.
Have they dealt with it? I have no idea. How are they feeling about it? I don't know. Because you are so scared of your own emotions. You don't ask other people. Then this is very important in context of Indian society. We assume that people are over it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And we assume that they should be. I don't think my sister should be. They should take forever if they need to.
Of
Yes, if
course.
they are able to cope and handle their emotions, I will be happy for them because that means that they were able to process it better than most people. And it's not that I want them to be unhappy, but it's their goddamn right.
I know.
Do
I
they
know.
not have the right to grieve him for how much ever they want? Why should there be a timeline on this? That's my only. Why do people think life must go on? Are life is going on, yeah. I'm not stopping to live my life, but I want to take a moment to remember the people who shaped it, who loved
True.
me, and who I loved. If I want to take, why should I remember them only during Shraddh? Why? Why should I remember them only on their birthdays or on the day they passed away? If I feel like remembering them, and if I want to, yeah, if I want to just cry or think about them, sometimes when I miss people who I've lost, I just go through their photographs and I cry my heart out. Not because I'm not strong enough or anything, but because no matter what I do, I cannot get that time back with them.
True.
And that nobody can tell me not to do. The societal context cannot expect me to be okay. I get to choose when I'm okay with this loss. And if that loss, if the answer to that loss is never, it is never.
It is never. Yes. You
It's
you can't bound it to a timeline and say, "Cha,
no, it will
one
not
year
work
ho
like
gaya,
that.
get
Yeah.
over it."
See, grief and loss, whether of a person living or non living. Loss is something you take forever to accept, acknowledge, and get acquainted to. And at no point do you get over that loss. You only learn to live with it. You
True.
fill that void with something else. Either you will fill it with tasks, you will fill it with other responsibilities. If you have lost a parent when you have children, then you will fill it with your children. And you will try
Correct.
to emulate your own parent so that you feel like you are doing a good job as per what your parent taught you.
You spoke about a very important point. We also grieve the living.
Yes. He grieved the living.
Yes. Have have you processed this grief differently? Grieving the living and grieving the non-living?
You know what?
Because we all have, I mean, gone through broken relationships, broken friendships, broken, I don't know, I mean, so many things.
Yeah. It is very different, I'll tell you. It's easier to recover from the grief of losing a person who is never coming back because you know that it's never going to happen again.
True.
And somewhere, human mind is such, you will blame the circumstance, you will blame nature, you will blame God, but it will not tarnish your relationship with them. Even if it was the worst relationship that you had with them while they were living, once they
True.
are gone, you will only remember them with love. But that does not work with grief of the living.
True.
because there that person chose to leave you alone. Or sometimes you had to leave a person.
You had to. True.
It works both ways. But it hurts the most when it is people who you have spent a lot of time with, who you felt that they knew you inside out, who can get from your hello that something is not right with this person. How do you grieve the loss of such a thing? It's not a relationship, it's not a friendship, it could be, it has nothing to do with gender. It is
Yes.
just the loss of that connection which ran so deep, sometimes with our childhood friends, sometimes with our co workers who we no longer can be in touch with. There are so many blurred lines, but the loss feels very real. That smallest change in attitude, the smallest change in the way the person treats you, it hits you, especially if you're a person who's lost a lot in life, like somebody like me, who's lost so much in life that now loss of living relations feels, the burden feels just as much as that of losing a person who's actually,
True.
because you can't compartmentalize. People like me feel that if a person chose not to keep me in their life, if a person chose that their comfort would lie in treating me like they're treating everybody else, you would prefer to think them dead.
True.
Grieve it till you no longer care, because you cannot live with that kind of hurt. And you feel that, why, it's okay. I've lost enough in life. One more loss is not going to kill me. I know the drill by now. So, so grieving the living is very hard, especially because you know that you can bump into them. Life is very long. You don't know where you will meet them again. So, the what ifs exist in both the cases, but they are very different. When you're grieving somebody who's no longer there, you think to yourself, what if I could have saved them? What if I had expressed more love? What if I could have done something in my power to make it easier? But when you're grieving a living person who's no longer in your life, the what if is mostly self doubt. Was I not enough? Was it me? Did I make a fool of myself? Did I not see the signs? And for females, especially, this happens a lot because our lives transition a lot, right?
Yes.
So the from college friends to being married, some unmarried, then some with kids, some without kids, some with kids at different ages. We are a living embodiment of grief because we have lost so many friendships in transition. And I'm not saying we have lost friends. We haven't lost those friends. I know for a fact that somewhere that those relationships will find their way back. But it's not the same anymore. You don't know the day in and day out of that person. And
True.
that will kill you, bro. Because this is somebody who used to share everything with you. And you used to share everything with them. And then at this day and age, you can't find a replacement for that friendship. There will never be, because nobody knows you like that person.
True.
And I think females experience this loss a lot more than men. Men don't experience this loss. I find that childhood friendships of men tend to last longer,
Longer. They do.
and they don't
They do.
change with time and face. Whereas women do face losses of this kind. And it's a very
They do.
unspoken type of grief and hurt, and there is no blame in this. If you ask two girlfriends who have not been able to give that. I have so many girlfriends who I love from the bottom of my heart, or even you and me for that matter. The amount of love that we have for each other. But have we been able to give each other the kind of time? Yeah. Died with that relationship. See, understand.
Yes,
I am no
yes,
longer the girl, like uh, my best friend. When we were in 9th, 10th standard, me and Richie, we would talk for hours, like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and conversations wouldn't end. No matter what I do, that girl doesn't exist anymore. Neither in her nor in me.
true.
Our life experiences have shaped us into totally different people. And we love each other to death. We always find a way to check up on each other. But that relationship, how do you explain that it's not dead, but there is a deep sense of loss? There
Yes.
is a
Oh, I
very
totally.
deep sense of loss because those were those were dreamy days, and you thought life would be a certain way. To have an image of yourself, by the time I'm this, this is how I will be. So basically, you're not mourning that relationship. You're mourning the inability to complete that circle or say that okay,
Yes,
this is where I.
yes,
And then at that point in time, what you need the most is basically that person only with whom, because only they knew that vision. And that gap sort of is what makes you feel so lost. And I full credit to the partners who try to cope with it and try to understand, because women are far more complex. Uh, but no man can ever do for you what your girls can. So
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so going back to when we were talking about grief and rituals, were there any traditional Indian rituals or prayers or spiritual practices that brought you comfort, or did you find yourself questioning these beliefs when whichever whichever grief you want to talk about?
actually, no, I find that I am very deeply rooted spiritual, and I believe in rituals. I feel that you should do them from the bottom of your heart. What I don't believe in is the kind of pressure that comes with it. I want to do it in 4 days. I want to do it the Arya Samaji way. It's fine. It's my choice. You want to do it the Sanatani way. You want to do 13 days. That's also your choice. If I have experienced that loss, I should be able to choose the spiritual practice which brings
Right.
relief to the person who is gone, depending on their belief system. What did they believe in? Because you're ultimately praying for them.
Them. Right.
This is not for you to show to the world. This is not for you to ease your life. It is for their peace. So if it does not match the belief system that they carry, it's of no use. So to me, rituals are always uh, pathways to peace, but uh, people should choose them based on the personal choice of the person who has passed, and not according to other things. There's no point in it being a 13-day ritual where everyone is going and living in one धर्मशाला. कहने के लिए वहाँ रात में दिया जल रहा है, and every day there's a full, because the whole family is there basically. चाय आ रही है, समोसे आ रहे हैं, इसकी जरूरत नहीं है. No, not needed. Not needed. But again, people have different rituals, people have different practices. To me, no one thing can bring you relief. Spirituality can only ground you.
Right.
Any ritual, anything that you do gives you a sense of satisfaction that you did your duty well, which is part of social conditioning. Okay, you can only pray. One has to understand we are all made of energy. Energy is in your body, you are alive. Energy left your body, the body is nothing.
Right.
So every soul is energy and energy is soul, vice versa, right? So if energy has passed one medium, it must have gone into another medium. The the way I see it is I always seek out the energy and I am not looking at the medium. I feel that my grandmother's energy or Sagar's energy or my Fufaji's energy or for that matter anybody and everybody who I've known has experienced loss should understand this, and it's very important. Whenever you look back at your life and you think from the perspective of energy, you will find their presence in your opinions, in your behaviors, in the way that their small thoughts and actions have shaped you. So when you pray, especially for their peace, you should pray that their energy carries the goodness of that experience with them. And whatever it is that caused them pain, which did not propagate growth. I'm not saying that the energy should forget all the pain. No, pain propagates growth. So if an experience made them a better person, they should carry that energy, should be with them so that next, wherever they go, that helps them, it aids them. So when you're praying for their peace, what are you praying for? You're praying that this medium that they were in, the next medium treats them better, that their experiences from this medium shape them better for the next whatever. And if possible, then they can finally just be in the universe without having to find another medium. So whatever purpose of their energy was has been met. That is what you pray. And you also pray for yourself, that you understand that you are also nothing. One day your energy will also pass to another medium.
True.
So, rituals, spirituality, and all these things surrounding death, which are not so spoken about, are actually supposed to be grounding experiences, which should remind you that one day you are nothing. Who am I is nothing. I am nothing. Either I am everything or I am nothing. When you say I am
Nothing.
everything, that means you're one with the energy of the universe. You are just as much as the universe as everyone else is. Which basically means you are nothing because you are one with everything.
True.
Everything will perish and convert into the same thing, that energy. So there is no point holding on to so many things in life unless they are not shaping into you, unless they shape you into a better person. So, rituals are important, spirituality keeps you grounded, but you should do it for the satisfaction of the person who is passing. It should align with their goals and it should be for your own self ground. It should not be a public display of grandeur. It should not be a social stigma. It should not be a social requirement. It is not a social requirement. If you believe in it deeply and genuinely, you do that. But if you're doing it because it's a compulsion, it has absolutely no meaning after. And you will be filled with nothing but resentment for those people who are attending that.
True.
And that resentment runs very deep because you're like, I am trying to deal with this loss. And you want to know why we cannot have tea and someone else must bring the food, or what is the food that we will have. चाय बना लो पर
True.
बिना चीनी वाली बनाना, हम लोग को डायबिटीज है.
True. True.
Getting my point? मतलब मेरे घर में अगर किसी की डेथ हो गई, लास्ट थिंग आई केयर अबाउट इज योर शुगर. Go to hell, if you don't mind my language, but I don't care. I just lost somebody really important. I don't care if you've been sitting here 10 hours or you need tea. Arrange it. If anything, you should arrange it for us because because we are the ones going through such a bad phase. So yeah, in that sense, I feel that the older people had more logic in their rituals. So if you see, in our custom, we are not supposed to light the gas for the next 5 days or whatever it is. People are supposed to. Your earlier, what would happen was neighbors, your communities would bring food and everything. It's not because something bad has happened in your house, but it's because the emotional state is not such that you can be doing these things. But what has become the meaning of it in transition? It has just turned into a ritual. What was supposed to be a support practice is now a ritual, which
Yes.
which makes it irritating because then people are getting haldiram ki thalis and whatnot. I'm telling you, it's no joke. It's no matter how full of a life that the person lived, they left behind a child who is
Exactly.
parentless now.
Every time you experience grief or loss, it has a physical manifestation on on your body. The emotions get physically manifested.
Yes.
Did you experience physical manifestation of your emotions?
Oh, you will feel every time you feel loss, you can feel it in your body, and guilt and shame and everything stays with you. Like for me, dealing with my body type and not being able to work out, I just can't get myself because it was a very core memory of a very something that I enjoyed doing with someone who no longer exists.
Right.
And somewhere my body's defense mechanism is such that no matter how much I need it, doesn't allow. And I can't explain it to him. Nobody will get it. They'll be like,
True.
you're just making an excuse. And I've heard this many times in my life. It's so easy for people to do it. People just, you're just not working hard enough. You really just don't want to.
True.
Yes, maybe I don't want to. But what do I do about it? I can't do anything. I'm unable to. That's why I'm in this stage. You think I can't see myself? Way better than any of you. And pain manifests itself physically. You'll get cramps. Even when I was just talking to you earlier, and before when before I actually had an outburst, I had a cramp in my midriff because that is where that emotion is stored, right? It's there. I will have a running migraine after this conversation because it is also packed in here. And the important thing is to unpack. You can deal with the physical manifestations provided you accept that they are there. So, this whole journey actually starts with acceptance. You have to accept that you have, and I want to say this because nobody else is saying this, but being in mental pain or emotional pain hurts way more than being in physical.
True.
But there is no there is no meter to it. It is you need to recuperate just as much. It's like being physically hurt, but because emotional health is not given that kind of priority, most of us don't heal. We
True.
just keep and time and again though that wound keeps getting scraped because grief, like we spoke about it, it compounds. It is by nature in compounding. कुछ तो हमारा डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म अलाउ नहीं करता, और कुछ बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ दैट इमोशन इट इज मेंट टू बी दैट,
Yes.
तो आपकी बॉडी में रहेगा ही रहेगा। मैं नहीं कह रही हूँ कि दैट इज योर एक्सक्यूज ऑफ लीडिंग एन अनफिट लाइफ, बट you have to accept when you see it in yourself, your face will break out, आप बहुत देर
True.
upset हो, your face will swell up, you will
Correct.
experience water retention in your body, you will not sleep well. Once your sleep cycle is gone, then everything. So these are what? These are ways of grief expressing themselves because you are not.
You're not. Correct.
But the one way that I find very helpful to deal with it is to journal. And in my life, I found Daimoku very helpful. So I do Namyo Rengekyo chants. They're a very important part of my life because everything that I feel, good, bad, happy, angry, guilty, whatever it may be, I think of it as energy. And when I chant, I pray that whatever emotion this energy may stem from, I hope that it converts into happiness and it is able to help whatever I send out into the universe, is able to help people like me who are dealing with something similar. And then somewhere in that act of kindness, you feel energized because the universe will give you what you give it. So,
True.
so I feel that one practice has really sort of helped me with dealing with, because I was telling you earlier also, like every time I meet grief in my life, I lose my sleep. So very recently, my husband was posted to another city, and like I said, I've never slept alone or lived alone as such. Okay. So that's also a kind of loss, sense of loss that you experience at this
True.
age. After 6 years of marriage, you don't expect to live away from each other. And you can relate to this because the early spell of your marriage was long distance and it is very hard. So you're back to being sleepless. But yeah, grief does has its own way of showing its face. And every time you think you're pretending well, it will show you a mirror.
It
It
does.
does. Yeah.
It does. Oh, thank you so much for opening up, for talking to me, for being so vulnerable, for talking about everything that you spoke about. I loved how you spoke about energy and how
Yeah.
spirituality grounds you. Thank you.
I'm so happy that we could do this, and it means the world to me that you were willing to share this with me. I feel very happy, and probably by the end of it, I feel a little, better about things. I think to anybody who's watching us, who has even remotely similar experiences, should know that they are not alone. That's very important thing. Knowing that there are people who are there to hear you out, I think is the biggest comfort. And yeah, so that's what.
Thank you.